Hey, if you're using React server components, you'll really want to pay close attention. A pretty critical security advisory just dropped, and in the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what it means, who's affected, and what you need to do about it. Let's dive right in. So, is your app at risk? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, by the end of this short explainer, you are going to have a crystal clear answer and a precise plan of action. So here's the deal. The React team just announced fixes for two brand new types of security flaws. We're going to skip all the heavy jargon and just focus on the essential info you need to get your apps secured. Okay, so these vulnerabilities basically break down into two main categories, and each one has a very different kind of impact. We're talking about denial of service and source code leaks. Let's unpack what each of these threats could actually do to your application. Think of it this way. On one side, you've got a denial of service, or DOS attack. This can literally freeze your server solid, taking your app completely offline for all of your users. Then on the other side, you've got source code exposure, which is way sneakier. It could let an attacker trick the server into just handing over your proprietary code. Two very different and very serious threats. All right, let's put some numbers on this. These CVE codes you see are just unique IDs for known security bugs. And as you can see, the two denial of service flaws are rated 7.5 on a 10-point scale. That's definitely in the uh-oh, this is serious category. The information leak is a bit lower at 5.3, but still, that's a risk you absolutely don't want to take. So how does this DOS attack actually work? Well, it takes advantage of something called unsafe deserialization. An attacker sends this like a poisoned package of data to your server. When your server tries to open it up, boom, it gets trapped in a never-ending loop. The whole thing just hangs and it becomes totally unresponsive. The information leak is way more surgical. Here, an attacker crafts a very specific, very clever request. And instead of getting normal data back, they actually trick the server into sending back the JavaScript source code for one of your server components. Not good. But, and this is a big but, that source code leak isn't just a free-for-all. It's not like every single app is wide open. For an attacker to pull this off, your code needs a very specific setup. Basically a server function that's taking an argument that gets turned into a string. It is a specific precondition, but it's definitely something you need to be checking for. All right, so we know what the threats are. Now for the part you've been waiting for. Is your project affected? Let's get into the specific versions you need to be looking out for. Go ahead and pull up your package.json right now. If you see any of these version 19 releases of the React Server DOM packages in your dependencies, yep, you're vulnerable to both that initial DOS attack and the information leak flaw. And this is a super important detail, so listen close. If you already updated to one of these versions, you might have thought you were in the clear. But nope. Turns out that patch was incomplete, which means a second, slightly different DOS vulnerability is still just lurking in there. And just to be crystal clear, we are not talking about the main React package here. The problem is specifically in these React Server DOM libraries for Parcel, TurboPack, and Webpack. That's where you need to look. Okay, enough doom and gloom about the problem. Let's talk about the fix. The good news is, getting this sorted out is actually pretty straightforward once you know what to do. It really just comes down to these two simple steps. First, figure out the exact version of the React Server DOM package you're running. And second, update it to the correct patched version that matches your release track. And here they are. These are the magic numbers, the safe versions you need to get to. Find which track you're on, 19.0, 19.1, or 19.2, and update to the corresponding number you see on the screen. The React team is urging everyone to do this as soon as you possibly can. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A whole bunch of vulnerabilities at once? That sounds, well, bad. But believe it or not, this is actually what a healthy security process looks like in the real world. Let me show you what I mean. You see, this whole thing didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It all started with a different critical flaw. Once that was patched, the entire security community basically swarmed it. They started hammering on the fix, testing all the code around it, and what do you know? That intense pressure is exactly what uncovered these new related issues. You know, the React team themselves said it perfectly in their advisory. Sure, seeing more disclosures can feel frustrating, but it's actually a good sign. It shows that the security ecosystem is working. Researchers find things, and the core team responds with fixes. This is what a mature, healthy process looks like.
So, look, the immediate task is simple. Go update your packages. Right now. But this whole episode leaves us with a much bigger question, doesn't it? This is not going to be the last major vulnerability we see in a library we all depend on. So the real challenge for all of us is, how do we build our development processes to be more resilient and ready for the next one? That's definitely something we're thinking about.